Everyone, welcome to another episode of 5onFriday. So today we do have Kate with us. Kate is in the office, which is awesome. So you can see Kate's got a E4 Enable logo in the background. Kostas, the chief, unfortunately, well, fortunately for him, he's on a boat somewhere in Cornwall whilst we're doing all the legwork and doing the heavy lifting for him. So Kostas, when you watch this, hope you're enjoying this episode. But more importantly, today we've got Nick Horton with us. So Nick, would you mind introducing yourself, please, and tell us which company you represent, your role, and then we can take it from there.
Oh, perfect. Thank you for having me on. So, Nick, I've been an SDR at Rungway now for around 8 months, and we're a workplace advice platform which creates a safe space for employees to have a voice at work without fear of judgment or bias.
Cool. That's pretty powerful. I can imagine that's a pretty nice thing to be selling right now when everyone's in a remote environment. So good stuff. Okay, Nick. Before we go any further, we would love to understand a bit more about your sales process. Like what channels you're using. Do you use any kind of tools or anything? How do you structure it? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I'm using HubSpot CRM and HubSpot Sales. And then I use LinkedIn Sales Navigator to filter down. So I focus on HR directors, operations, and really dig down into people that are passionate about culture, engagement, diversity, and inclusion. So I'll create those lists, and then I'll put them into the HubSpot sales, and then I'll put them in a sequence. And I'm following a sequence that I saw Cognism put out on a blog, which has got great results, because going into lockdown, I was very much heavily on the phones and not so much on the LinkedIn. So now I've changed to do a lot more LinkedIn voice notes. There is some video in there, lots of calling and using Lead IQ, Lusher, and then just really going after it.
Nice. I love that. So multi-channel, multi-step approach within the sequencing tool in HubSpot. Who do you sell to? Like you mentioned, obviously HR is important, but what kind of businesses? What's the kind of the ideal customer profile for you?
The ideal customer is financial services, because our founder, Julie Chakraverty, was named one of the youngest female FTSE 100 directors back in 2013 and had an amazing career in investment banking. So her expertise in corporate risk and governance means our product is perfectly positioned for that market. But really anyone with over 100 employees is our customer, because anyone wants to understand and impact their culture in an improved manner.
Cool. Okay. All right. Well, I think sounds like you've got a good strategy in place, and you know who you're going after. What is the biggest area that you want to fix right now in your process? How can we help you?
I'd say cold calling, as I'm the only SDR, cold calling is definitely one area I'd like to focus on, because there's no one around me to kind of bounce the same ideas off. My manager's doing an amazing job of being able to do that, but I'd love to hear some feedback on that. And any feedback and advice on the email would definitely be helpful, because it's sometimes I just go blind to when I'm writing emails.
Cool. Okay. So Kate, what are you thinking here?
I think that we'll dive in with a role play and see if we can do some of that cold calling support, and then maybe we'll have a look at the email as a secondary piece if we've got some time at the end.
Okay, cool. All right, Nick, how's that sound to you?
Let's do it.
All right, nice one. Okay, so Nick, you're going to be calling Kate. Kate, what's your role? What's your kind of job title going to be? Who do you work for?
I'm feeling like I'm an HR director. I'm a chief people officer. I'm a big financial data organization, so highly governed, and I've got 1,000 employees in the organization.
Cool. Nick, you happy with that? Is that enough info for you to get started?
Good.
Cool. Okay,
yep,
right. Well, let's go into it. Phone rings. Kate picks up. Straight over to you, Nick.
Right, Kate Lewis. Hello.
Afternoon, Kate. It's Nick Horton from Rungway. Just a quick one, as I'm sure, like me, you're tired of jumping between Zoom calls on a Friday afternoon. Do you have a moment to speak now?
I do, a short moment, yeah.
Reason for getting in touch is that I've been speaking to other HR and people leaders who've been facing challenges and concerns around the mental well-being of colleagues during lockdown, race-related discussions, and managing focus and morale with the return to the office. And the Rungway platform is creating that safe space for employees to have a voice at work without fear of judgment or bias. This allows you to understand culture in the moment. I'm curious, from from what I've said so far, how do those challenges resonate with you?
Well, mental health is clearly with the work from home issue, and we've got a couple of streams that we're looking at around mental health, but also around what's going on in the world right now and how people are handling it. We've also got some challenges being in the world of finance around gender diversity, so we're trying to do some things around tackling that right now. So yes, I guess yes, they are challenges that resonate.
No, thank you so much for sharing that. Firstly, I guess my first question is, I'd love to understand how employee engagement has changed for you since the lockdown.
Well, we were reasonably good in terms of we've got a strong intranet. We do have an HR platform, and we've always done good polling to get a sense of the kind of well-being and gauge the feeling out there in the workplace. It's something that I've been passionate about, and I think probably the biggest thing that we've done since lockdown is help the leaders understand how they can support their team better, and create that kind of supportive culture. That's probably where we've been focusing more efforts.
No, thank you for sharing. I think it's worth at this point giving you a bit more context on what Rungway is. So it's a workplace advice platform which allows employees to post questions and ask advice with the option of anonymity. Now, a post that was at a financial services company, a client of ours recently, was really powerful that I'd like to share. It was titled, "I want to sing K Sarah Sarah but," and it had, "I'm constantly anxious, I'm bewildered by this situation. My small pension is down by 35%. Will my parents make it through the virus if they get it? Will there be redundancies? What's next?" And what was really powerful about this was the CEO was the first response with a really genuine and authentic answer. Now, this had a really, really unique impact on culture. I'm curious to understand, where would employees go at the company to start a discussion like this?
Well, that's why we spent a lot of time with sales leaders and leaders generally across the business to have more open discussions and more focus on well-being and mental health and anxiety through these times, to train them up to be able to have conversations. I'd like to think that they could go there, and also in our pulse surveys that we put out to the environment to get and garner feedback, would encourage those to feedback through that right now, I would say. Whether we're being as specific as that, I'd be interested, do you see differences sort of geographically? So do you see a difference in how people use your platform, America versus the UK, or geographically across your client base?
100%. I think on the American side, they're definitely more willing to be very open and forward with their feedback, and the UK, the anonymity is used more. I think something that you might find interesting is that at one of our financial services clients, where women made up 30% of the workforce, they asked 60% of the questions on the platform. Now, it's clear that there's certain topics which people don't feel confident speaking up with their managers. So how could you see capturing some of these missing voices helping the team?
Good question. I guess, how has it helped other organisations? That's quite a big question to ask. How has it helped other organisations, in that visibility? Because I'm always eager to learn from others.
Definitely. There's a great case study we did recently with a financial services trade body, where they wanted to understand how could they create the best employee experience when returning to the office. And the normal surveys don't dig down into the real data. And what we were able to discover for this company is that over 45s overwhelmingly didn't want to come back to the office. And the reason for this was because they had elderly parents, and they had to make the choice between going into the office or putting their relatives at risk. And the younger generations overwhelmingly wanted to go back to the office. So it's about understanding how one size definitely doesn't fit all in this situation. It's a workforce of individuals. I think from what I've heard so far is that leadership want to help more. They want to be able to engage employees and help do that. You've got certain channels, you're doing pulsing, which is great, but there's not that bottom-up feedback tool where employees can post the more vulnerable questions. What I would recommend at this point is we schedule 30 minutes next week where I can bring in my colleague who is specializes in the financial services industry, who can share with you some of the data we're surfacing and walk you through what this could look like. How does Thursday at 3 p.m. work for you?
Tentatively, yes. Just a quick question on that. Will they be able to bring, their experience around how prepared an organization needs to be to start doing something like this?
Yeah, of course. One of the big selling points of Rungway is that we're a managed service. We've got a customer success team which has experience across large enterprise organizations, and also a data analytics team who will be doing a lot of this for you. Because I understand one of the concerns may be this, that leadership are so tied up and they've got so much work on, they're not going to have the time to dive into all of this. But that is one of our selling points, is that we will do a lot of that back work for you. And we produce some really interesting reports that actually go off to the regulators at clients such as UBS and BlackRock.
Okay, all right, that sounds interesting. Yeah, all right, let's get that meeting booked in on Thursday then.
So that was kate.lewis@experian.com. Was that just to make sure I've got your email address correct?
Yep.
That's great. Thank you very much. Speak then.
Thanks, Nick.
Wow.
Lovely.
Okay, that was. How did you find that, Nick?
Nervous, very nervous.
Yeah. Well, how did you feel it went?
I thought
you got the meeting.
Yeah, no, happy about that. It's tough. I'm glad I got across some of the points and managed to stay calm under some of the objections. I think I could have probably pushed on the pain a bit more and gone down before closing. I think that's probably where I'd say the negative was.
Okay, interesting. Kate, how did that feel for you to be on the other end of that call?
Yeah, I think that you were very easy to have a conversation with, Nick, actually. And that's always something. I didn't feel under pressure. I didn't feel awkward at all in that. And I think that's a big win, actually. So I felt like I probably would have had that meeting, actually. I think, a couple of the areas that apart from the fact that I thought it was a really good call, I didn't write a lot of notes down because I'd rather have listened. But I wrote down a couple of areas where I thought, I wonder if I would have been a bit more engaged and you would have been able to break the information up. So when you first asked me for time, I thought, great. Okay, so I'm happy, I'm absolutely happy with that. And then you talked about some of the challenges that you help organizations that you talk to, and I thought that's great. And then you went on to say what your platform did immediately, and I felt that a little break there just to say that, does that resonate with you? Are you experiencing and those challenges would probably have made your bit about your solution more powerful? Because I was thinking, oh right, yeah, I am suffering from some of those, but you just carried on, and I couldn't catch that and separate them from, we're still in problem space to we've moved into solution space. It
lost some of the impact of the challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. And me being able to validate that I resonated with the challenges, not that I was interested in the solution. I think that bit, really do there. And the other bit for me was, gosh, it seems to me that customer success and data analytics bit, now I'm not an HR director in a big organization, but that as a solution set, as a unique sort of area, I think you could have dug into as a problem set a little bit earlier and said, a lot of our customers, get a bit worried when we talk about these sorts of things because they're thinking, that's a lot of data. I do not have the time. We are not ready for that. Does that, I imagine you're getting lost under a lot of data, and maybe bring that forward was the bit that I thought
thank you for that.
really opened it up.
That's definitely something I need to push on more.
other than that, I thought that I thought it was a really good call, Nick, to be honest.
Thank you.
I really did. There's one final bit I've written here that I did write down is try and flex your solution bit a little bit, loosen up. When you say our platform is a da 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 da, and it sounds scripted, whereas the little bit you know about me, the little bit you asked about me, it's interesting you say that, because that's exactly where our solution kind of molds in. And it really helps you with those, and it really helps you get a view on it, rather than our platform is a something platform, that because it just sounds like it's being parroted a little bit. That's it. But yeah, all good for me.
No, thank you.
I thought it was a really good call, by the way. You have some real natural talent, which some people almost have to practice a lot, whereas you get a lot of the tone, the speed, the delivery is very clear, and you come across as someone you can trust, which is often a big problem in sales. So you have a lot of really great assets, which maybe you've actually practiced a lot as well and developed too. So I think you got the meeting. You have a lot of really good ways of delivering and making sure that you're there and you're there in the moment. I've got a couple of notes for you. All right, now I'm going to be very honest with you. I still don't feel I really understand the problem of what you sell. The real problem. I understand what it does and who you're selling to and that sort of things, but it still didn't make me feel what I call loss aversion, right? And I bang on about this all the time. Everyone has to listen to me talk about loss aversion. But I feel like what you're doing is just saying, you could do all these things. These are all the great things you could do. What about this? Our solution, a lot of our customers right now are using us because they're worried about employees leaving them because they didn't feel like they had their voices heard within the organization. Is that something that resonates with you? I don't know. I'm just making that up for you right now. But the real problems can often be the things that get people very curious. I feel like you kind of got there in the end, as Kate said, with the customer success and the data and that side of things. Get that right in there at the beginning, right? And just make sure that people understand that. And as Kate said, and I usually use two things. So are you worried about employees leaving because their voices aren't heard? Are you worried about getting dinged for sending your employees back to the office when perhaps it's not a safe environment and they don't feel comfortable with it? Are those two things that you're worried about right now? And I think you need to zone in on that a little bit more, because then that's where someone very early on in the call feels really engaged and feels like you're going to help them solve those problems.
No, definitely. Thank you. That's something that it's been in the back of my mind, that I think we've changed our kind of value prop as we go on, because before, when people were in the office, it's very much more on the mentoring side. Now we've really pushed the safe space. But I think coming out of lockdown, it's what have you done for your employees during the lockdown to make sure they feel their voice has been heard and they feel valued? So I think that's definitely something I need to really start to push on, because it's going to be front of mind for leaders and HR, for sure.
Yeah, and look, individuals are leaving companies, by the way, and although they're nervous about continuing because the way their leadership has done things. So you want to make your prospect feel that. Kate, was there something you wanted to add to that? I think I just cut you off.
Yeah, I was just about to kind of reinforce that, Alex, in a sense of the impact. So in spin they'd be saying implication questions. So to Alex's point there, you got to some of the problems, but as a business, when I'm looking to invest, it's not just, and this sounds awful, but it's not just that I'm lovely looking after the well-being. There is a financial or a performance impact. There's a something. Alex talked about the fact that people might leave the business. There might be a performance impact. It might adversely affect your culture and start creating, rot where there hasn't been rot before, which has an adverse impact here. So it's about widening that pain to the bit that's going to really hurt an organization and linking that. So yeah, it was just reinforcing that bit around don't leave a problem without scratching it a little bit more and unveiling the real pain beneath.
So you think that the part where I said, how could capturing some of the missing voices help the team? Maybe another question after that to really go, what does that actually mean? Could that be a negative impact on your culture if you're totally missing what your employees are saying?
Either a question or a story. What one of our clients had uncovered is that by not listening to their employees, they had a dreadful employee retention rate. And the cost impact of recruiting higher when they were dreadfully, ripped apart on Glassdoor, and that having an impact on their brand was huge. So what appeared to be just limited to this turned out it was having a much bigger impact on their organization. So sometimes you have to help your clients make their own way through to that assumption. Now, sometimes you can do that through questioning. Sometimes you can do it through stories. If you feel awkward asking, those questions to that nth degree.
Yeah, you asked an awesome question, which I love, by the way. So, where would your employees go? That's really good, by the way. But again, the impact, right? So, they don't have anywhere to go. What does that mean for them, for the 21-year-old grads who are sitting in their bedrooms? What impact is that having on them and their efficiency and their ability to think straight and do good work? Is that so again, dig into that. You ask some really good questions, but you need to just dig into the pain
one step further.
Just go that step further. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of sales reps don't want to do that because they don't want to offend their prospect. But if you can do it in a way where you get them to uncover problems they didn't realize were there and surface those and make them realize the impact of them, then you're onto a real winner. And when you do that demo next week, then they're already thinking about those things and they're in buying mode a lot more. Okay, so I think you used some really good social proof as well, by the way. So these are the financial services companies because you knew who your prospect was. I think, so again, the implication side of things. Now, I think you missed a little trick at the end, by the way. And I think you said, is it Kate Lewis at Experian? I think that was a nice little thing. But what do you think you can do a bit better to make sure that link between that meeting next week happens, and make sure that Kate is going to come there informed, because she's the CEO, right? She's really busy. She might have forgotten about you. What do you think you could have done a bit better to reinforce that a little bit more as the follow-up?
Maybe once I'd closed on the meeting, ask some follow-up questions just to make sure there wasn't any platforms that they were about to release or some other things like that, to really make it seem like this was going to be the most targeted time possible.
So that's part of it. I think that's good. Really qualify it a little bit more because you've got the meeting. But think about this. Kate is probably in the next week going to speak to about 50 other people internally and externally, right? And all of a sudden you become quite forgive me for saying this, but you just become another person, right? And it's just a meeting in the diary. So what I recommend everyone does is just alert their prospect. I'm going to send you a calendar invite now. I've got your email address. Now in it, I'm going to set the agenda, and here's what I think we should discuss on that call. Does that sort of align with what you expected, right? So you get that upfront contract before you even get into the call. But also, is there anyone else in the organization who you think would want to be involved in this? You want to get the decision-making unit brought in as early as possible, to make sure that you're not just going to have to, and you're doing your account executive or your sales manager a favor here, by the way, but it is just good practice for sales to get more buyers involved, who are really going to need to look into this, because you don't want it to be blocked later on. So I think those are the other things I can give you on that point. I always just say to people, I've sent it to you, can you confirm you've got it? And you get them to accept it on the call. But those are just a couple of things, because you want that meeting to happen. There's nothing worse than saying, got this awesome meeting, and then they don't show up.
Or you get the email kind of 30 minutes before saying, can we make this another time? And then they suddenly ghost you.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
No, thank you for that. I think it's at the end of the call, I'm always just really happy that I've got the meeting. And then I'm thinking so much about that I'm like, I don't want to ruin it now.
It's another 30 seconds of someone's time, right? And you've got the meeting. Just do those final bits, because you don't want to be having to spend the next 2 weeks chasing that person down again.
I like that.
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
I like that reaffirmation of the kind of agenda. It does what Tom did really well on the last 5onFriday session, which was play back what you've heard to just confirm and reaffirm that what we've just talked about, I've understood it, you've understood it. It's a really nice way, but adding that by adding that into, I'm going to be putting this into the agenda for that next meeting is even better. Takes it to the next step. Love that.
Yeah, and what it does is, think about it, right? I've got a meeting in 10 minutes time. I'm going to get a calendar invite and it's going to say just meeting name. But if it says, hi, Kate, we spoke about this on our last call. As agreed, you want to discuss this, 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 and this. Looking forward to speaking to you and Kostas and Alex about this. Here's a case study in advance that's relevant to you. That's like the best you can do, right? And that's really good salesmanship in my experience, even though I did say it myself. Okay.
Way to go, Alex.
Yeah, thanks me. What I know, but no, honestly, I've learned that from a lot of other people, by the way, and I get prospected all the time. And when I see that, it makes me want to turn up. Okay. All right. So look, we haven't got too much longer left, but you wanted to take us through an email. Is that right? Do you mind quickly getting that up? Have you got it in front of you, or do you need us to get it up on one of our screens?
Is it possible for you guys to get that? Because I don't think I've got that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That totally
just
handy.
Working out.
Do you want me to put it on my screen, Kate?
Yeah, if you could, that's perfect.
Okay, it's this one. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to read this out to everyone. So, are you happy for me to read this one, Nick?
Yep. Yeah.
The one to Holly. Okay, so I noticed in your LinkedIn that you create content around having a growth mindset, presentation skills, and how to take ownership over culture. I was curious to understand your perspective on how to impact morale in a remote world. As you know, company culture should be driven by honest conversations, whether it's well-being, lockdown, race-related discussions, or the return to the office. Many organizations the need to allow more space for honest conversations. The Rungway platform is a safe space where employees can share their perspective or experience without fear of judgment and seek support and advice from peers and leaders. I'd love to share what we're finding. Would you like to learn more, Nick? Best wishes, Nick. Okay, Nick, are you happy with that email?
I'm not totally happy with it. I chose one that was, in terms of personalization, one that I probably took a few minutes to do. And I just went on their LinkedIn profile, went on posts and thought, this is what they're kind of posting about. This is actually relevant to some of the points that our platform helps. And then the rest is part of a template. So I wanted to see if I could improve on something that I'm doing at a reasonable scale.
Okay, nice. So talk us through how you structure your emails. I mean, you're sending multiple emails as part of your HubSpot sequences, is that right?
Yeah, there's about three in the sequence.
3, okay. How many touch points does it take on average for you to break through to someone?
I'd probably say it's around the 7 to 8 mark is when yeah. I start getting the interest. Okay,
cool. So industry standard for you is somewhere between 8 and 12, from what I know. Now, there are certain tests that you can do to make emails better. The first one is the mobile test. Do you ever send yourself emails as test sends to yourself and open them up on your mobile phone?
So this is a screenshot from my mobile.
Okay, good, nice. So you're already doing that bit, right? But so I think what you've done really well here is you've made it really personalized, right? I noticed in your LinkedIn you create content around having a great mindset, presentation skills. So that's you probably get quite a high open rate because you're personalizing a lot of these, right? But if you look at this, in my opinion, the first thing I notice is I'd almost cut this in half. Okay.
Okay.
When you sequence emails, LinkedIn, phone calls, videos, and everything, you're telling a story, and I always describe it as writing a pop song. It's like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, yeah, and then outro and everything. It's a long chain. Whereas you're trying to put a lot into this. I think the opening is very good, but as humans, we read emails in Fs, right? So it's got to be main paragraph, personalized, small one, and then the ask. I think you've put 2 others in there, which almost means that you, as a reader, you don't get to the ask quickly enough. So your call to action at the end of this, I really like. Would you like to learn more? I think that's really good, particularly in today's environment. But you're really putting a lot in the middle of the body, which almost makes it too much for me. So the first thing I would be doing with you is cutting this down and adding another email step into your sequence.
So would you cut out the honest conversations and the well-being in lockdown and just go straight to what the platform does, or?
Well, it goes back to what we were saying before on the call, right? What are the key questions your prospects are asking themselves, and what are the problems that you're trying to solve, right? So I'd ask you that right now. What are those key questions that your prospects, tying to the problems, are asking themselves right now, right? For you, I would be putting this into here. So most of our prospects right now are either challenged with this or this. Do either of these resonate? If so, would you like to learn more? Right? You've got to get to the problem. That's the way I think it could be structured.
A nice bridge if you were to think about this, is to say, Holly, I noticed from your LinkedIn that you curate content around having a growth mindset. I expect that you're probably experiencing that people are challenged with that right now. That the mindset is on an all-time low with everything going around. And here's what we've found from our platform is this something? So you're going from a really personalized to a problem that is linking to that personalized aspect that you're saying, I'm expecting that you're seeing this. I'm validating that there's a problem. And then I'm throwing in something there that to say, this is something that we're seeing or our other clients are seeing as well. And it's something that we're really passionate about solving. Something that would allow you to bridge from that I'm being hyper interested in what you're doing. I'm saying that I think you're probably in that you're seeing a problem, and therefore here's how we solve it. Is a nice bridge.
No, thank you. I think one thing I normally feel is that I'll do a bit of personalization, and then it just almost looks exactly like it feels very scripted, and I want to kind of get more conversational in my emails, because that's how people read, or that's how you'd send an email to a friend or someone personally. You'd write it conversationally, not as if it was a really formal script. So I think that's where I want to try and get to, because I understand what you're saying, that the bridge doesn't really work. It's kind of like, I've read this on your LinkedIn and then into a pitch.
Yeah, yay for that. Yeah, I read this. In doing that, I understand that you're probably feeling this. It's an area that we're really passionate about. Our clients are feeling a similar thing. Can we do? And so on.
Quick question for both of you. From what you've seen so far, what questions as leaders would have got you more excited about the platform?
So say that again, Nick. So what questions for us specifically would have got us more excited?
Yeah.
I think, to be honest with you, that's, forgive me for saying this, I think it's almost the wrong question, right? Alex, you are a leader, and these are the problems that you're faced with, because you should understand the problems that you solve for specific personas at Rungway, right? Have you ever done that exercise where you look into your personas, you look into like what their goals are, what they care about, what their problems are, their challenges, and how you solve it for those specific personas?
No, definitely. I was just, the question I was asking, like, not to put in this email, but as leaders, what would get you excited about the Rungway platform?
So for me, it would be like, again, so I can't see it here because I know company culture is driven by honest conversations. But if you had put something in this email that said, Alex, all of your employees are probably working remotely right now, right? That makes it really hard for you as a co-founder of a business in hyper-growth mode, where I've noticed you've been hiring in lockdown, to understand what the honest conversations really are. And from our experience over the past 4 months, businesses that do understand those conversations are solving these problems. They don't have, so you can either put it one way or another. They're not suffering from low output and low morale, right? They're not having high staff turnover and their employees looking for jobs. Right? So you've got to tie it into that. One of the things that I really care about, obviously culture is there, but if you're solving the problem for me as a leader, then that's what's going to make me jump into this. I took a demo for someone the other day because they said, how do you know the conversations that your sales team right now are in line with how you've trained them? Because you're no longer in the office. So do you think they're saying things that might be disrespectful? Do you think they're saying things that are actually making them lose deals? Wouldn't you like to zone in on those conversations so that you can make sure you can train them in a remote environment? And immediately I was like straight on that demo, because it solves a problem that is very present.
Guys, I'm conscious of time. To wrap up. So, Alex, anything final to add on that?
No, I think Nick, for you, you're a very good sales rep, particularly someone that doesn't have someone to bounce ideas off. You phenomenal at conversation, right? You know how to sell the benefits and things. I think your biggest thing I think you should be focusing on is, how do you really get into the pain, solve those problems, and really dig into that, because I think you could be phenomenal once you get into the motion of doing that.
Thank you.
Loved your call style, love the opening, love how you do things. You got the meeting. not many tweaks, to be honest with you. I think you're going to be very successful.
Yeah, micro coaching, absolutely, micro coaching for sure. All right, brilliant.
Cool.
Really
so one final
appreciate
question.
that.
Two things really. Did you get what you wanted today from us?
Definitely. It's been amazing to be on.
Awesome. Second thing, would you like to nominate someone who's going to come on 5onFriday in the future?
Yes, I definitely would. Callum Smith from PatSnap would be my nomination. I think he would be a great feature on the show and make everyone laugh.
Nice. Kate, we haven't had anyone from PatSnap, so let's get on Callum's case.
Brilliant. All right.
Okay. Kate, anything else from you?
No, all over. Thank you very much, guys.
Cool. Thanks a lot, everyone. Looking forward to the next episode. Thanks a lot, Nick, for being on this, and we'll send this out soon to you.
Perfect. Amazing. Bye, guys.
Cheers, everyone.